BMRForum.com and BMROdds.com. Welcome back to episode 108 of The Lobby. Gentlemen, how y'all doing? Donnie, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, feeling good. Heat is on here finally in the Northeast. Maybe summer is finally arriving here. Interesting times. We wait for game number one of the NBA Finals tonight. We had game number one yesterday of the Stanley Cup Finals. So good time right now before we get to that barren desert here of that late June, early July, and we wait for football season. So enjoy it while you got it here with these two finals.
Yes, Reload, over to you. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, doing well. Like Donnie said, I'm stuck in the heat wave today.
Yeah.
Been out for walks each day, and I have to go earlier each day because it just gets more hot in the afternoon. So, but the good news is that means we're in summer, and there are good things with that too. So looking forward to a nice summer around here.
And the man who looked like he just got out of the pool, Mr. Sam's in charge. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, pretty much. Just got out of the shower, just got a fresh haircut. They always try and, rip you off with the MVP to try and get you to shampoo them yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Like, listen, I go
extra
after
massage.
work and I can shampoo myself. Plus, if I don't get that service, I can tip you more. So, don't upsell me and the money can go into your pocket. But yeah, just like Donnie and Relo said, it's high 80s, low 90s the last 2 days in upstate. It's been absolutely beautiful. From the car salesman standpoint, it sucks when the cars are 110 degrees. But now that I'm back in finance, I got my own office and I don't have to worry about walking the lot and moving the lots that much. So I definitely enjoy that. I got a tea time tomorrow at 8:30, so going to enjoy that. And just right behind Reload at the Belmont Stakes up in Saratoga this weekend. So pretty exciting stuff we'll get to in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we will definitely jump into that. Reload, I definitely want to get your thoughts on that. But Donnie, let's start off with the NBA Finals. Game one tonight, Pacers and Thunder. Are you going to be betting each game, or are you going to be betting the whole series here?
It's hard because I do think most like everybody thinks Oklahoma is going to win the series, but it's like, hey, man, let's lay minus 700 to win the series. Doesn't make all that much sense. There's other ways to mitigate that with the odds. Like, let's just say you take money line Oklahoma City to win tonight and pair it with them to win the series. You can drop that minus 700 down to a minus 290 price, but still, you're looking at close to $3 as a price to pay on that. It's certainly something that most people don't want to dip into. Now, if you think the Pacers are going to win, you're getting the plus 500s, plus 550s to win the championship, and that's all fine and good. A couple dollars goes down, goes a long way. But for me, game number one, like, I'm buying into this. 9.5. Most people look at that, guys, right? And be like, 9.5. The Pacers are good. Just give me the 9.5. Yeah. Man, that 9.5 is there for a reason at this point. So it's not a huge public fave, but I'm laying the 9.5 points tonight. And also on the other side, if there is a correlation involved, Tyrese Halliburton's number is only 17.5. What? He's going to easily get 20 points. Not so fast. I'm buying into that number as well. I'm going under 17.5 on Tyrese Halliburton. So a little bit of a public fade tonight. That number is crazy. 10 at some outlets even, where it's like, where is this going? And I know tomorrow when I wake up, I'm like, hold on now. Pacers won that game outright. I laid 10 points here, but that's the way I'm going. Lay the points tonight and under on Tyrese Halliburton for me tonight.
All right. Thank you, Donnie. Reload, over to you. Your thoughts on game one and this NBA Finals?
Yeah, well, for the finals, I can't bring myself to bet the Pacers for the series. I do think that, through the course of it, they're going to lose the series. But I do think there's one part of this a lot I think I've missed, which is Carlisle's coaching. He was there. He won a ring with the Mavericks coaching as the underdog in that series. That was against the Miami Heat, the great Miami Heat with LeBron and D Wade and Bosh and all that. So I think that's going to come into play here. You can throw out the regular season, throw out even most of the playoffs, how that's gone. And I think the Pacers have played well enough. And I think with Carlisle's coaching, that's definitely an edge over the Thunder coaching staff. As far as game one, I'm going to take the Pacers plus the 9.5. I think I have gotten destroyed going against the Thunder all season. But this is the NBA Finals, and like I said, I think Carlisle will have him going a little more strong and really use his experience to fire them up and talk about how that Mavericks Heat series went.
All righty, Reload. Thank you. And last but not least, Sammy, your thoughts on the series and on game one?
Yeah, so like Donnie said, Reload said, there's no value in betting on the Thunder at minus 700. So you find a way to bet them for the series and the number of games. So if you think that maybe Indiana can take one game at home, just like Minnesota did. Maybe it's a 4-1 series. That line is sitting at like plus 180, plus 190. So at least you're sitting at plus money. You don't have to lay the juice on each individual game. And then what I like to do is I just like to bet some player props just to have some action for the game. So I'm not going to touch the spread, but obviously I got a little against Halliburton. I got a little a grudge against him for beating the Knicks. I do love how he thought he was going to win the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. It was like that Drusky skit where he took a step forward. It's like, whoa, bro, it was Pascal Siakam the whole time, especially after that game 2 where he dropped like 38 points. Halliburton was pretty much, missing half the series. And the games that he was good, but on the games that he was bad, he put up less than 10 points. So, if you're going to be the superstar, you got to be consistent. And, he thinks he's him. He's not him. He's just the top 2 guys on a, over exceeding team. So I'm going to take Halliburton under 2.5 3-pointers made and just hope that, he gets some free throws and makes some buckets. And then I'm going to take the Thunder 4-1 at about plus 185.
All righty, Sammy. Thank you. And Sammy, I'm going to stay with you right now. Let's talk Tom Thibodeau. He led the Knicks to the playoffs in 4 of his 5 seasons. What are the Knicks doing getting rid of him?
Yeah, it's tough. And some of the things that I've been thinking about is, can you coach the coach? Because I understand why they're mad at him for the sense of how much minutes he was putting on the starters. And then during the playoffs, he decided to rotate with the bench. And then it was like, oh man, the bench can actually play. Maybe we shouldn't put all these minutes on the starters. And now you're having some variation in there, and it was working. So part of me is like, maybe we just coach and, James Dolan and the GM, and they just say, hey, maybe if we try and get Coach Thibodeau to change his coaching style to allow the bench to play some more minutes, then it takes some pressure off the starters. But then you say, hey, a coach, that's his style. That's how he's going to coach, and you can't coach the coach. So maybe that's why they got rid of him. That's really the only logical thing I can think of. Because in the end of the day, he brought him to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years. He won 3 series in the last 3 seasons, which no coach in the Knicks has done. He brought the team together. So I don't know. I mean, I know the media and fandom, I like to blame it on Karl Anthony Towns and his lack of defense and his lack of always looking for the call on offense. You need someone to fall down. But, man, it's tough to say that you led a team for the first time in 25 years and then you get fired. It's like Jerry Jones firing Jimmy Johnson after they win the Super Bowl. Yeah. But that's what James Dolan is. He's the worst owner in the NBA, just like everyone likes to say about Jerry. So it's tough as a Knicks fan. I don't necessarily agree with it. I understand a little bit, but give him 1 year. Try and coach the coach. See if he can change a little bit of his coaching style. And then, if he underperforms next season, okay. But it's tough after the best season in 3 decades to get rid of your coach. Overall, I'm going to say no, I don't agree with it.
And then, Sam, last question. Who do you think's taking over for the Knicks?
Yeah, that's tough too. I mean, Ron Artest, Meta World Peace, put it out there. I know that coach from UConn, he just signed a big deal with UConn, and I know that name is floating around. The tough part about all the sports, and I know we talk about it, NFL, NBA, NHL, they just recycle the coaches. When's there going to be a fresh opportunity for some guy we haven't heard of? But then everyone's going to say, oh, we haven't heard of this guy. How are you going to give him a shot? Well, if you're fired from your job, that means you didn't perform. I've never been fired from my job and then just got hired from the same company and been like, all right, we're going to give you another chance. And then you got fired, and then another company's like, yeah, we're going to give you a chance. Like, what's your resume look like? I've been fired 5 times. Why should I hire you then if you've been fired 5 times? Well, because I'm going to be better with this team. So that whole psychology just it doesn't make any sense to me. I'd love to see a fresh name that no one's ever heard of, and then everyone be upset about it, and then see how he performs. I don't want some retired, guy. I mean, look what happened with Phil Jackson 10 years ago.
Right.
He sucked as a coach, and then they tried to make him like a GM type thing, and that didn't work out, and now he's no longer with the franchise. So I'm not really sure on names that have been floating around. We'll see what happens.
Rito, let's jump over to you. Your thoughts on Thibodeau's departure, and who do you think's taking over?
Yeah, I agree with Sammy. It's a terrible move. I think he was owed at least one more season. After a season like this, it was such a big improvement. The fans were really into the team in the playoffs. The celebrities were showing up again. If you heard some of the buzz, it was starting to feel like, even back to the Pat Riley sort of days with the Knicks for a while there, and the Van Gundy days. The only reason that I would say to let him go is if you have someone already lined up that's really strong,
right?
Like a shoe-in to absolutely be an improvement. That's the only reason I could see letting him go. I don't see any other reason to let him go. If you're going to let him go and then, hire somebody else that, is an assistant and now is going to become an NBA head coach, if you're going to bring in somebody from college, I just don't see anybody, I heard some wild long shot rumors of, maybe Eric Spoelstra leaving the Heat to come to New York. I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think Pat Riley would want him to do it. So, I mean, unless there's some really wild long shot name that is really going to catch eyes and be an improvement, I can't see how you make that change right now.
And Donnie, last but not least, your thoughts on Thibodeau's departure, and who do you think's taking over in New York?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too because maybe he could have gotten fired if they lost in 5 games to the Pacers, but they play well in games 5. They end up losing in 6. They get to the Eastern Conference Finals. They don't usually get that far, so I thought he did deserve another year. And also, you did have the backing of Jalen Brunson, which is your team's superstar. That never usually goes in the opposite direction. Hey, who do you think your coach is going to be next year? If he goes in the post-game press conference, well, I don't really know if Tibbs is the right guy. Well, yeah, Tibbs is probably going to get fired. But the fact is, what, are you kidding me? Of course he's coming back here. It was quite a shock that he is on the move. But also, you have to understand this. This is the Knicks now. Great starting 5. Make some moves here. The arena is now all fired up. The expectations, as you saw the Knicks partying the other day with Finals 2026, you can't go into that with a coach that we've never heard before because that could be a disaster. Some of those names that we're looking at, if they could peel Jay Wright out of the talking booth here on the broadcast and get him in there, that would be an absolute home run with the Nova Knicks out here reuniting. He's a great coach, but I don't know if he's going to do that. But you're right. If we get the retreads like Sammy was talking about, again, Phil Jackson, hey, Larry Brown, he'll work in New York. They were terrible hires at that point. But I think this is the best version of the Knicks and the most talented version of the Knicks, that they do need a rock star as their head coach to sort of appease the fan base. If you're firing Tibbs, I don't think you're going with somebody who hasn't coached an NBA team before, or even worse than that, hasn't had that big profile job just yet.
All righty. Thank you, guys. Donnie, all right, Reload, let's jump over to you. Panthers and Oilers, did you catch any at game 1, and where are you leaning for the rest of the series?
Yeah, nice start there with game 1. Overtime, and I think I'm going with the Panthers to even it up in game 2. I'm seeing plus 110 right now. I think game 1 showed the Panthers can compete here. And I think they're going to feel a lot of urgency to try to pick up game 2. So that's going to be my lean. I'm going to see how the numbers move a little before going into Friday. But at least we're off to a pretty nice finals. I hope it goes longer than people were saying it would. So Panthers plus 110 for game 2 is what I'm looking at.
All righty. Donnie, your thoughts? Did you watch any of game 1, and where are you leading the rest of the series?
I thought it was awesome. I got to wake up early, but I watched an entire first period into the early second period. What a fun first period. A lot of goal scoring, a lot of penalties. Enjoyed that. And also waking up to see the Florida Panthers a 3-1 lead, 3 straight goals by Edmonton when include the Draisaitl goal in overtime. That was fantastic, man. We're going to enjoy a 1-0 hockey game from time to time. But you give me 4-3 right out of the gate with 2 really good teams, and it goes to overtime, that's buying in, and we should have a pretty good series all the way. And I do agree with some things that Reload was saying. Game number 2, I do think that is a strong competitive advantage for Florida because they've won championships. They understand you can't get down 0-2 even though you're on the road and say, all right, we'll go back to South Florida and we'll win those 2 games. You can't guarantee that. So I do think it's a good buy-in price here, not only for game number 2, but for the series itself. You were looking at more of that pick-em number. Now you go out there and you see the Panthers plus 180s, plus 190s to win the series. I think it's a pretty good move. And even having said that, even if they get down 0-2, talking about the Panthers, you might look at that price point, like 300 plus 325 for the Panthers going home. That's when I probably would buy in as well, even on a flyer, which how good they actually are. But I think it's a pretty good buy-in choice. Put it this way. I don't think anybody's waking up to okay, wanted to wait to see Edmonton win. Now lay minus 225 for the Oilers to win the series. I think it's a good buy-in spot here for the Florida Panthers.
All right. Thank you, Donnie. And Sammy, same question for you. Did you catch any of the game, and where are you leading the rest of the series?
Oh, yeah. NHL playoffs is awesome, and game one did not disappoint. It's why the ratings are probably going to end up being better than the NBA Finals. Exciting first period, and 3 goals, and all 3 of them had like a sketchy way that they happened. There was like a defender hit over one of them. The Oilers on Florida's first goal, they challenged it, and they were unsuccessful, which then gave them a penalty, and then Florida took advantage and went up 2-1 early. And then the overtime goal didn't happen until 30 seconds left. So we got a solid 4 periods of action. All the stars were coming out too. I actually have this series going 7. I'm doing that for a couple reasons. Obviously, one from a value standpoint, just to try and bet the series. And then number 2, one of my best friends I've talked about for the last couple weeks is an Oilers fan. He lives out in Vermont, and game 7 is a Saturday night if it were to happen 2 Saturdays from now. So I'm going to leave work halfway. I'm going to go over to Vermont. We're going to go to my buddy's house that I see once every couple years and be able to enjoy game 7. So internally, I'm rooting for the Oilers, but I'm really rooting for game 7 to give me an excuse to leave work, take a half day, go see my buddy, his family, and go watch game 7 with him. So I'm rooting for game 7 here.
All right. Well, hopefully that happens for you, Sammy. Reload, let's jump over to you. Let's talk some Belmont Stakes at Saratoga. Let's go ahead and talk about that for a second. And, first off, who do you like to win? Give me an exact to pick. And then why are they shortening the length of the race?
Yeah, well, we're back at Saratoga again for the Belmont. So it happened last year, and we're in the middle year of it. It's supposed to happen again next year as well. So they're still working on Belmont Park. Supposed to be done next year, but not in time for the Belmont Stakes. So this is the second year of it. I don't really think it's good at Saratoga because of the 1.25 mile distance. It always should be the 1.5 mile distance. It's not really the same. And I can tell already with the week, the way the week started yesterday at Saratoga, I don't think there's as much buzz as there was last year. So last year they went with a 4-day stretch that first week for the Belmont. This year they went for the money grab and tried to make it 5 days, Wednesday to Sunday week. And yesterday it started and attendance was pretty low. They even gave out free hats, and they only got 14,000 people to show up.
Let me add into that what you just said, because my dad works up there, and my dad obviously talks to the family group message all the time, and he was saying that as someone that's taken the bet, that it was not that busy. There was a lot of times that he wasn't having anyone make bets in between it because there's so many stations to open. So, I could attest to Reload from my dad working there that yesterday was not a great day for what they're expecting. And then this Saturday, it's supposed to rain, so we'll see what happens.
Right.
Back over to Reload.
Yeah, and everybody's had to pay, the costs for the tickets and everything are a lot higher this week. It's not your typical Saratoga weeks here. They do a lot of more reserved seating and increased prices to get in and everything else.
Right.
So it kind of steered away a lot of the normal kinds of folks that like to do Saratoga, that like to bring in their own chairs and sit there all day and
of course
run to try to grab a picnic table or something. It's not like that in this kind of week. And a lot less buzz. I saw some of the photos, the stretch, nobody's standing there at the end of the day watching the ends of the races or anything. It looked pretty bleak, but we'll see how the week picks up here. So Belmont Stakes on Saturday, we'll see if the week can at least end with some steam up there. As far as the race goes, my top pick is going to be Sovereignty, who won the Kentucky Derby. I had him in the Derby, and I'm going to take him again here at the Belmont Stakes. I'm looking for some deja vu for me because Bill Mott's the trainer, and I did win back in 2010. Bill Mott won with Drosselmeyer at the Belmont, and I had that pick. I did a video with Loshak years ago. You could probably find it somewhere. So I'm hoping to go with Bill Mott's horse again here. I do think he's taken this planning seriously in skipping the Preakness and going for the Belmont. And you're going to get better odds than taking Journalism, who is probably going to go off as the favorite. Sovereignty's morning line of 2-1. I'm hoping it goes up a little more. I think you're going to see the betting action come in Journalism, and that will drive up better odds on Sovereignty. So we'll hope for that. As far as who to put in with the exacta, Heart of Honor is a horse I like. I talked about Heart of Honor in the Preakness. It was a 5th place finish in the Preakness. which I think just helps for value here in the Belmont. I talked about how the trainers shipped him over from the Middle East. They used the Preakness as a prep for the Belmont, and I think you're going to see a better race out of him here. He's 30-1 in the morning line. I think he's a nice mix for value in exactas, or even if you want to take a shot with the win, place, show kind of thing. Also, as my third horse, Crudo, is a 15-1 shot. Todd Pletcher trains this one, and John Velasquez is aboard. John Velasquez started the meet yesterday with 2 winners, so he's looking pretty hot this week to take. And 3 wins and 3 starts for this horse. So a little green with only 3 starts, but he could shoot out there, and I think hold on for maybe third place and get a show price on him. So those are going to be my top 3 picks. So as I mentioned, I'm throwing out Journalism just because I think it's too much of an underlay here. I had Journalism in the Preakness really because there was just nobody else to take. He wasn't against Sovereignty there. And I think you're going to finally see the clunker here with Journalism doing the 2 races pretty close together and now having to ship up for the Belmont. I'm also throwing out Baeza. I was originally taking a look at Baeza, but then I watched the show yesterday, and Eddie Olczyk took Baeza, so I just drew a line right through it. No way, if Eddie Olczyk's on it. It's not going to happen. It's kind of like that scene in Let It Ride, the movie, where he's out like asking everybody who they like in a race, and he scratches each of them out as they give him a choice, and he goes with the one that's left. Yeah, with Eddie Olczyk, you can just draw a line through anything he comes up with. So that's my summary right now where I am with the Belmont. I will post picks on the forum leading into the race with my final thoughts.
All righty, wonderful. Thank you for that analysis, Reload. And real quick, since you brought it up, either between us 3 guys or 4 guys or anyone out there, has anyone heard from Loshak? I haven't heard from the guy in years.
Not in a while for me. I'm on his Facebook. I message him.
So am I.
Once every few years. I think it was maybe a few years ago the last time we had an exchange. I know he's on X. He was doing shows with
Jimmy the Bag.
The Bag. Yeah. The Bag guy. So they're still out there. If you want to catch him, that's what he's been doing out there. But direct contact, not for a while.
Huh. All right. Donnie, let's jump over to you. Your thoughts on the Belmont.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to wait till tomorrow here to try to make some decisions here, get some more information. And not a big horse racing guy. I do wish we had a Triple Crown that was still in effect at this point. Right. You know what else is interesting, too? Like next year's Preakness, right? You have Pimlico getting completely rebuilt. So track's going through a lot of different changes in different locations before they get back to where we used to have them. It'll be interesting to see how those big, beautiful places now turn out to be. But it's interesting, as Relo was talking about, races that are typically the longer one at the Belmont. Now it's a little bit short at this point. A lot of different factors goes in because most people handicap, hey, you know what? How do they usually do it at the Belmont? It's completely different track, completely different race style now. So it is interesting how the handicapping process goes through. I'm not a big horse racing guy, but we'll see it. I'm certainly always part of it there on Saturday, no doubt.
Awesome. Sammy, over to you. Belmont Stakes, your thoughts.
Yeah, Reload had a great breakdown, so I'll keep it kind of brief. Journalism, I kind of agree. Journalism came in second on the Derby. He won the Preakness, which was an outstanding ride. But now you're talking about 3 races in 6 weeks. Is that going to be too much for a horse like Sovereignty that won the Derby, took his break, and now is the second choice? I definitely think there's more value on him than taking Journalism. I understand, of course, from the public standpoint, why Journalism would be the favorite. And I'm just like Donnie, where I don't necessarily go crazy in depth and I'm capping them. I'm looking at everything. Right. I'll take a look at the previous post positions, and obviously all of them are, studs. That's why they're in the Belmont race. And I'll take a horse and see what happens. I'm not really into the exactas and the trifectas. Right. I'm actually going to be out to dinner that night anyway. It's my brother's 40th birthday, so I'm going to be out to dinner with a bunch of friends. Hopefully the race will be on, because I know it's not going off till after 7 o'clock, which again kind of takes the muster out of it. Normally it's like 6:15, boom, there it is. Now it's getting pushed later and later. The last race at Belmont or at Saratoga, it's not going off until after 8 o'clock, because there's always a race after the Belmont, which is always weird. But the Belmont's the main attraction. And the last 2 days being 90+ degrees, middle of the week, it's definitely going to, stir some people away from going to the track or hanging out by the by the finish. And I know from a golfing standpoint, golf tee times were booked up days in advance and selling out in minutes. So the crowd will definitely be there Friday and Saturday. One of the local courses, Saratoga State Spa, it's a beautiful course. They allow you to tee time a week in advance at 2 p.m. I checked at 2:03 for tomorrow because I'm going golfing tomorrow. It was sold out at 2:03 in 3 minutes. The earliest tee time was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So believe me, there will definitely be people there tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday, just based off the tee times that were impossible to get for this week. I ended up getting a time, and I'm happy, but it was a struggle because of all the people coming up north for the Belmont.
Yep. All righty. Thank you, Sammy. Donnie, let's jump over to you. A little bit of breaking news. Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers. What do you think?
Yeah, the least breaking news possible. We always knew this was going to be the case just by the Pittsburgh Steelers saying, like, yeah, Mason Rudolph is our guy, and we'll be fine with him into the season next year. Yeah, if you like to get fired as your general manager, Mike Tomlin being there a long time, we knew Aaron Rodgers would be there. It's a one-year deal. He's going to show up to OTAs, which is what we expected. But also, we expected the New York Jets to be a good football team, and they absolutely stunk. So my question is, 2 years later and an injured Aaron Rodgers, what actually changes? I don't know if anything, but the one thing I do like, we'll be intrigued. We'll talk about it. We'll be betting the Steelers each and every week. But I'm hard-pressed to believe that, hey, Aaron Rodgers is going to be great with the Steelers. They're going to be great. They're going to win 12 games and make a deep playoff run. I think there'll be playoff advantages for them, which means they might be able to make it in because that's what the Steelers do, always winning at least one more game than losing it, which means that Mike Tomlin will have another winning season. But as opposed to doing damage in the playoffs, it's been a long time since the Steelers were doing that, Aaron Rodgers or without Aaron Rodgers. I like the move because it at least makes Pittsburgh competitive and fun to talk about it. But let's be honest. Like, they're not making a deep run in the playoffs. They're just not.
Reload, your thoughts, buddy.
Yeah, and I know we've talked the Aaron Rodgers move before. I remember us talking a few months back about where we thought he was going to end up, and the Steelers were in that mix. I think, like Donnie was saying, it's going to make some of the games more interesting. It'll definitely make some of those clunker Thursday night games with the Steelers more interesting, having Rodgers in there. But I just don't see where does that really make the Steelers stack up better against the rest of the AFC, the rest of those top teams? I don't think so. They might win an extra game here or there. They might fight a little closer, might lose by 3 or 4 instead of by 6 or 7 once in a while. But I think you're going to see things like that. I think Rodgers might have been better off just sitting out the start of the season and kind of waiting until a decent team needed a quarterback to finish the season. I think this early move, I think he's too pot committed, so to speak, now to the Steelers. Right. And I don't think much will happen with it, but it'll be fun to see what goes on in some of these games.
Of course. And last but not least, Sammy, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's funny. He wants to be the face of everything. He wants all the attention over him. I think he did it this late, so he had to miss some of the OTA meetings, and he didn't have to report right away. So he can spend as much time away from the team until he actually has to show up to the team and make it about himself. It's also interesting because Mike Tomlin is the longest tenured coach in the NFL, and he's very loyal, and he's been a coach there for 17, 18 years. So if somehow Rodgers finds a way to get him fired, man, that would be the ultimate. I mean, we already know that he's got this black smoke aura around him, but if he somehow takes down the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise, I mean, you almost got to give him credit at this point for the damage that he's able to do to these teams. He's already taken down a couple franchises, so let's see what he can do to Pittsburgh. But it's definitely a better option than Mason Rudolph.
Thank you, Sammy. Reload, jump over to you. Let's talk some baseball. A lot of games already underway today. A lot of games already went final. We got a couple on the nightcap. What do you got?
Yeah, short card this evening, but I'm going to go with the Texas Rangers, Tampa Bay Rays under the total 9. I followed this series. The Rays took the first couple of games, but I think the total is a little too high at 9. We got Pepio and a leader on the mound here. They've given up fewer home runs lately than some of their earlier games in the season. And the under overall, if you look at it, 6-2 in the Rays' last 8 home games. And if you combine both the Rays and Rangers, the under is 23-7 in the 30 games that had a total of 9 or more that they were both involved with. So I think the total a little too high here. It's juiced at -120. but let's take the plunge on the under.
All righty, Reload. Thank you. Sammy, let's jump over to you. How's your baseball day been so far? What do you got for tonight?
Yeah, well, the Phillies just got knocked out, so I had them team total under 4. And of course, it's Thursday, so we got to go with the Yankees, right? We're going to roll the juice at minus 265. And just to say, the Yankees did win last week on Wednesday. I forget what the record is. Now they're like 9-1 on Wednesdays. So I haven't done the research yet, but I got to see what the record is on Thursdays. But if Yankees are playing on a Thursday, your boys got to be taking them. And then a couple road underdogs just for a little bit of feeler. You got Texas over Tampa Bay and Kansas City plus 105 over the Cardinals.
All righty. Thank you, Sammy. And Donnie, last but not least, MLB talk. What do you got?
Yeah, Phillies got smashed this afternoon, but how about the Atlanta Braves giving up all those runs in the 9th inning and getting beat by the Arizona Diamondbacks 11-10? So today the heat is popping out there, and so are the bats. And always with the Yankees on a Wednesday, I think they heat up tonight at the plate. They didn't score any runs yesterday, so anything can be better than that. 4.5 as a team total today, minus 140 as a price point. No doubt in my mind the Yankees get the 5. Cicconi's on the mound, not a very good pitcher. A lot of high ISO power numbers for the Yankees today. They'll hit 81 degrees in the Bronx. Finally love to see that. And another game, Houston and Pittsburgh, Valdez versus Keller. 2 decent pitchers on the mound, 2 teams that don't hit all that well. I'll take an under 7.5 in that game also.
All righty. Thank you, Donnie. Sammy, you'll be happy to know this season the Yankees are 4-0 on Thursdays.
All right.
There you go.
How are you able to get that stat so quickly?
There you go.
Google,
I am good at what I do. Sammy, let's keep it with you. Let's talk some French Open tennis.
Yeah, I mean, it is awesome. We're down to the finals on the women's side, which is as advertised, number 1 versus world number 2. And it's most likely going to be that way on the men's side as well. You had Sabalenka that beat Iga Swiatek today. Swiatek, who's a 4-time champion, hasn't won a tournament in over a year now. So she's are kind of getting dethroned as the queen of clay. Is going to drop down to world number 7 for the first time in over 5 years. Sabalenka is just miles better than everyone, but going up against Coco Gauff. Coco beat her in the U.S. Open finals in 2023. Coco's 1-1 overall in the finals. This is her 3rd Grand Slam finals. She did lose 2 years ago to Iga in the finals. And then you got Sabalenka, who's made 6 Grand Slam finals out of 7. Her record is 3-2. Wow. She should have way more Grand Slams than she has, and she's still 5,000 points better. It's going to be a great match. The head-to-head is good. Sabalenka beat Coco last month on clay in the finals. So I'm expecting a great finals. And then on the men's side, you got 1, 2, 5, and 7. You got Djokovic in there against Sinner, who's the world number 1. Sinner is like 91-5 in his last matches, and all 3 out of his 5 losses are against Alcaraz, who most likely is going to be the finalist against him. Alcaraz has to go up against Lorenzo Mazzetti from Italy, has made it to 5 straight semifinals in major or master 1,000 event on clay, if you also include last year's Olympics. So the gold, the silver, and the bronze medals for the Olympics last year are 3 of the finalists this year in men's, and the other semifinals is the world number 1. So it is as advertised. It is the 4 best players in the world in the men. It is the 2 best players in the women's. It is what we like. The tennis thread has been blowing up. A lot of great feedback. JJ, Brock, JDS, Big J, Dougie, Eurosport. So there's a lot of tennis conversation, which I love. As far as a gambling standpoint, I'm only down 1 unit over the last 2 weeks. So it's basically just been meh, but from like an app, from like a viewer and watching it. And obviously if you're a fan of tennis, it is everything you'd hope for. So I can't wait for the final 3 days. Then we move to grass season.
All righty. Awesome. Thank you, Sammy. And thank you guys. And we will catch you guys around the forum. Best of luck with all the action this week.